I won't waste time with a long setup. My wife and I had just adopted a rescue dog, a quiet brown mix that barely reacted to anything. He wasn't fearful, just strangely calm. The shelter said he never barked, never caused trouble. We liked that. Our house felt empty and a calm dog sounded perfect. The first night he slept at the foot of our bed. No noise, no movement. He stayed in the exact same position until morning. When we went to the kitchen, we noticed the back door was open. Not a crack, open enough for someone to climb in. We were sure we had locked it before going to bed. We blamed each other, then laughed it off. It wasn't funny, but pretending it was made things easier. I locked the window again, pushed it hard to be sure, and that was that. Or at least we thought it was. The next night, same thing. The window was open again in the morning, and the dog stared at it like it didn't matter. It kept happening every morning. Locked at night, open at dawn. My wife said maybe the frame was loose, so I tested it by shaking it, pushing it, slamming it. It didn't budge. The dog just sat there watching me, head tilted like he knew something we didn't. Before the first real event happened, the house felt too quiet. Not spooky, just empty in a way that made every sound stick out. The dog paced a little, but never barked, never warned us of anything. That bothered me more than the window. Late one night, I woke up thirsty and went to the kitchen. Everything looked normal. No open window, no strange sounds. I walked back to the bedroom feeling stupid for worrying. But as I was passing the living room, I saw the back door curtain move, like someone had brushed past it. For a second, I thought maybe it was the dog, but he wasn't behind me. He wasn't anywhere near me. Before stepping into the living room, something in my body tightened, making it clear I wasn't ready for whatever I was about to see. I took a slow breath and moved forward anyway because standing still felt worse. There was a man inside our house. Tall, thin, dirty clothes, face hidden by long hair. He wasn't searching drawers or looking around. He was standing completely still, facing the dog's empty bed like he was remembering something. His breathing was unstable, almost shaking. I reacted without thinking. I rushed him from behind, trying to knock him down. The moment I lunged, the dog ran out of the dark and slammed into me first. Hard. Ooh. It sent me straight to the floor. My elbow bent wrong, and pain shot up so fast it made my chest tight. The intruder spun around fast. His eyes were wide and unfocused, like someone who hadn't seen light in days. He grabbed me by the collar and hit me across the face with something heavy. The impact rattled my vision, and I dropped to my side. The dog stayed between us, growling at me, not him. My wife woke up from the noise and ran toward us. The intruder stepped toward her like he was ready to strike again. Before the next moment hit, there was this brief pause where all three of us were staring at him like we were waiting for him to decide what he wanted to do. His breathing was heavy. His hands shook. He didn't look confused. He looked ready to explode. My wife grabbed the closest object, a ceramic vase, and slammed it on the intruder's head. The vase shattered on impact. He stumbled and fell to his hands and knees, blood dripping down his forehead. He pushed himself up and sprinted toward the back door. My wife backed into the wall, shaking. I reached out and grabbed his ankle as he passed me. I pulled hard and he fell flat on the floor. He tried to crawl forward, but I held him down with everything I had left. My arms felt weak, but I didn't let go. My wife said she was calling the police. The intruder froze when he heard that. His hands stopped fighting. His whole body went still. Then he started crying. Before he spoke, there was a heavy silence. No movement, no dog, no growling, no shouting. Just him breathing through tears. It felt wrong to hear someone cry like that after they attacked you. But he wasn't acting. He was breaking down. He said he had been released from jail a few months ago. Said he went in for stealing food because he had nothing else. He kept apologizing over and over, not for attacking us, but for coming inside the house. He said he didn't want trouble. He said he was terrified of going back. He said the dog was his, that he raised him before going to jail, that someone must have found the dog wandering around after he was arrested. He said he wasn't here to take him back. He just wanted to see him again. The dog crawled to him and pressed his head against the man's face like he had finally found something he had been waiting for. My wife didn't say a word. I couldn't either. I just kept holding the man while he cried into his hands, saying he was sorry. The sirens got louder. Before making a decision, I looked at the dog. He didn't look confused or scared. He looked certain, like this man wasn't a stranger. The intruder whispered that he had a job now, that he wasn't dangerous, that he wouldn't hurt anyone. He said he knew breaking in was wrong, but he didn't want to die without seeing his dog again. I let go of his ankle. I told him to leave before the police arrived. My wife stared at me like I had lost my mind, but she didn't object. The man looked stunned, then terrified, then grateful in a way that hurt to watch. He stood up slowly, wiped his face with his sleeve, and walked to the dog. The dog followed him without hesitation. No barking, no confusion, just quiet trust. They disappeared into the dark yard. The police arrived minutes later. I gave a fake description. Months passed. The window never opened again. The house felt heavier without the dog, but we didn't talk about it. Some things are easier left untouched. One afternoon, I saw a man across the street. Clean clothes, healthier. The dog sat next to him, tail moving slowly. He raised his hand in a small wave. I nodded back, and that was the end of it.
My shift was quiet enough to put anyone to sleep. I drove around the same blocks I'd checked 1,000 times. Nothing moved except a couple of lights turning on and off in houses where people fought insomnia. I wasn't expecting anything interesting, and honestly, I didn't want anything interesting. Night calls have a way of ruining the rest of your week. The street ahead had no cars, no people, nothing at all. I slowed down because the silence felt too stiff for that hour. When I reached the corner, I saw a dog sitting by a trash bin, shaking so hard its collar rattled. I recognized it. It belonged to Mrs. Turner, the old woman who always walked him at that exact time. Before stepping out of the car, I took one short breath. The dog wasn't hurt, but it looked terrified. It was staring at the ground like it was trying to avoid looking behind me. I picked it up and put it inside the patrol car. It didn't fight. It just curled up and shook. I had seen her 5 minutes earlier walking that same dog on the other side of the neighborhood. Something was off. She never let that dog out of her reach, not with her condition. At the Turner's house, I knocked once and waited. Through the window, I saw the TV on mute and a pair of slippers on the floor. When the door opened, Mr. Turner looked half awake, confused and worried before I said anything. He saw the dog behind me, and his face collapsed. He asked where she was. I told him I found the dog alone. His first reaction wasn't surprise. It was fear, real fear, the kind someone tries to hide, but can't. He said she'd been acting strange the last few months, not just forgetful, but different. Wandering at night, speaking less, staring at walls for long periods. He didn't ask if we could look for her. He walked past me and got into the patrol car like he already accepted she wasn't safe. Before stepping into the forest behind the neighborhood, I paused for a moment. Not because of mystery or dread. It was the practical fear of knowing an elderly woman with memory issues could be freezing, hurt, or lost deeper than we could track. The trees looked like a wall hiding too much. The kind of place someone disappears into without noise. We walked with our flashlights sweeping the ground. The dog stayed inside the patrol car, barking nonstop, its cries echoing through the trees. I called her name over and over, the beam of light bouncing on branches and dirt. She didn't answer. A few minutes later, we heard faint mumbling. Mr. Turner grabbed my arm without meaning to. The mumbling didn't sound like someone asking for help. It sounded like someone repeating pieces of words with no rhythm, like they were stuck in a loop. We found her kneeling near a fallen tree, wearing only part of her nightgown. Her hair was tangled and her skin was scraped. She was whispering fragments of sentences that didn't connect. When I got close, she looked at me only once, and her eyes didn't follow my movement right. Her pupils twitched like they were searching for something behind me. We helped her stand. She didn't resist, but she didn't act relieved either. Her breathing was fast and shallow, like she was cold inside her chest, not outside. Back at the patrol car, the dog exploded in panic the second it saw her. It barked nonstop, throwing itself against the seat, scratching at the door. I'd never seen an animal reject its owner like that. She froze completely, her face blank, her lips slightly open as if the barking shut her down. Mr. Turner tried to speak to her, but she didn't blink or react. Her posture tightened, her shoulders rising unnaturally as if someone pulled them upward. The dog kept barking until it started choking on its own breath. Then she moved. She didn't walk, didn't stagger, didn't run like a confused old woman. She lunged forward with a speed that didn't match her age or her condition. 1 second she was still, the next she was halfway down the street, her feet slamming the pavement so fast her steps blurred. I reacted late. My body felt slower than everything happening around me. I yelled for backup and ran after her. She was already turning the corner like she'd trained her whole life for sprinting. Before entering the alley, I hesitated for a second. Not because I wanted to stop, because my brain couldn't process the speed she had just shown. The alley looked too narrow, too quiet, too boxed in, and I didn't know what I was about to walk into. When I stepped inside, she was standing at the far end, facing me. Her posture was perfect, almost rigid, like she was holding her breath and her entire body at the same time. Her back straightened in a way she had never stood in any moment I'd seen her before. I took a step closer and called her name. That was when her arm jerked. Not voluntarily, like a bone moved on its own. A dry crack echoed, then another. Her elbow twisted at a sharp angle, followed by her wrist bending backward until it snapped. Her breathing didn't change. Her eyes stayed on me. Another crack came from her ribs, then her knee bent sideways. She didn't fall. She didn't scream. She stayed upright while her body folded and twisted like the bones weren't connected right anymore. Something dark dripped from her mouth. Thick, slow drops hitting the ground with a dull sound. It wasn't red. It looked like old oil. 2 patrol cars arrived behind me, and I heard the other officers stop abruptly when they saw her. No one spoke. No one moved. The cracking continued, bone after bone slipping out of place as if pulled by invisible strings. Her head tilted slowly, stiffly. Her eyes lost their focus, going blank like someone turned off the light behind them. Then she ran again, broken, hanging, twisted, and still fast enough to disappear from sight before anyone could block the exit. She vanished around the corner, leaving a trail of dark drops behind. No one followed her. We searched until sunrise. Every street, every alley, every yard. The dark stain she left dried into a strange crust we couldn't identify. Mr. Turner walked with us in silence, stopping every few minutes like he expected her to appear from behind a fence. When we returned to his house, he sat down and stared at the floor for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice didn't shake. It sounded tired, like he'd been carrying something heavy for months. He admitted she had become dangerous in ways he couldn't explain. Not violent, unpredictable. Staring at their grandchildren too long, standing by their beds at night without reason, waking up outside with no memory of how she got there, eating unusually fast, then refusing food for days. He loved her, but He had been scared something would happen to the kids if he left her alone with them. Part of him hated himself for thinking it. Part of him was relieved she was gone. Weeks passed with no sightings and no evidence she was alive or dead. The case remained open, though everyone knew we wouldn't find her. Some of the neighbors stopped going outside at night. Others locked their doors earlier than usual. People avoided the forest completely. I still pass that alley during night rounds. It looks ordinary, just old bricks and a cracked floor. But every time I look at the far end, I remember her standing there, breaking apart piece by piece without falling. Mr. Turner lives alone now. The dog stays close to him. He told me that he is still waiting for her. Even though he fears her, he still misses her. I moved to the U.S. with enough money to rent a small house far from the city. People didn't talk much to me, and I didn't push it. I kept the lights low and tried to save every dollar I could. One night, while I was cleaning the kitchen, I heard a tapping on the window. Not loud, just steady enough to make me turn my head. An owl was perched outside, staring straight at me. I wasn't used to animals getting that close. Before I could react, it dropped something on the sill and flew off. It was a small old coin, scratched, worn, nothing special. I put it on the table and forgot about it. I thought maybe it was a weird coincidence or the bird had grabbed the coin from somewhere else. But it wasn't just one coin. Each night the owl came back, tapped on my window, dropped another coin, and left. I kept them in a drawer because I didn't know what else to do. I figured it was strange but harmless. I didn't know that those coins were warnings or targets. Before the next thing happened, the tapping was different, faster, like someone knocking urgently, but with claws. When I looked up, the owl was already there, but it didn't act the same. It wasn't calm. It moved its head like it was checking the room behind me. It dropped another coin, but this one wasn't worn. It looked recently cleaned. When I turned it over, I noticed a black mark drawn across it. Not a design from the mint, a human mark. I stepped away from the window, keeping the coin in my hand. My first thought was that someone was playing a prank on me. Then I wondered if the owl belonged to someone. That idea didn't make me feel better. I tried calling the police. The call didn't go through. I tried again. Still nothing. I checked the landline. Dead. I checked my router. No signal. Everything had been working just an hour before. I looked outside one more time. The owl wasn't there anymore. The yard looked normal, but normal didn't feel right anymore. I closed the blinds slowly, unsure if someone was watching from the dark. Before anything happened, I stood still in the hallway, listening. The neighborhood was too quiet. No cars, no sirens, not even the usual barking from the house behind me. It felt like everyone had gone to sleep at the exact same moment. A deep thump hit the back door. Not a knock. A test. Someone pushing to see how strong it was. Another thump followed. Harder. I grabbed a utility knife from the kitchen drawer, the only thing I had that could count as a weapon. It didn't make me feel safe. My hands were shaking. I stepped toward the door, slow and tense. The third strike bent the wood. The frame creaked. Then I heard breathing on the other side, low and steady, like the person wasn't trying to hide it. The door cracked open with a violent kick. A man stepped inside. Dark jacket, mask, gloves, fast movements. I didn't even think. I swung the knife at him. The blade barely cut his arm, but he got angry instantly. He grabbed my wrist, twisted it until I dropped the knife, and slammed me into the floor. Pain shot through my shoulder and ribs. He pinned me down with his knee. "You really want to make this worse for yourself?" His voice sounded calm. Too calm. Another man entered behind him, taller, carrying a small bag like he already had everything planned. I lay on the floor, helpless, realizing the owl had been the least of my problems. Before they moved me, they scanned the room like they were checking if someone else was hiding inside. The taller man flicked the lights on and off. Then he checked my windows, my doors, the closets, even behind the furniture. They knew exactly what they were doing. The man who had pinned me took out a roll of tape. He wrapped my wrist so tight the skin folded under it, then my ankles, then my mouth. He turned to me on my stomach and dragged me by my shirt collar toward the living room. My chest scraped against the floorboards. They stopped in the center of the room and looked at the walls like they were deciding where to work. They didn't care what they damaged. They just wanted the space. The second man dumped the contents of the bag onto the floor. Tools. Not construction tools. Tools meant for controlling someone. Clamps, rope, tape. Something that looked like a small electric device. I tried to push myself up, but the man who dragged me kicked my ribs. I collapsed again. He crouched, grabbed my jaw, and pulled me upright to look at him. "You were supposed to be easy, but you had to play brave." He let go, and my head dropped forward. I didn't feel brave. I felt cornered and alone, exactly how they wanted me. Before they touched me again, they make sure every curtain in the house was shut tight. They checked the front door, locked twice. They whispered to each other, not loud enough for me to understand, but their tone irritated, like they were behind schedule. One of them ripped the tape from my mouth. He tore the skin on my lips. I gasped and he grabbed my cheeks to keep my head still. He picked up a small clamp, the kind used to hold metal wires, and pressed it against my face. "You think stabbing me was a good idea?" He tightened the clamp. The pressure stabbed through my skin. Then he twisted it. Pain shot across my jaw as he pulled a small piece of flesh free. I screamed without meaning to. My voice cracked. The other man held my shoulders down easily. They worked in silence, switching tools, pulling small pieces of skin, poking, pressing. Not enough to kill me, just enough to break me down. They wanted time. They wanted me alive and hurting. My vision blurred. I tried to focus on something, anything, but the room spun. Blood ran from my cheek and jaw onto the floor, forming a dark puddle under me. Every breath felt heavier. They didn't rush. They didn't argue. They treated me like a job they had done many times before. Then, one of them looked at the clock on the wall. "Finish it. We're losing time." I didn't know what finish it meant. I didn't want to know. He reached for something into the bag, something bigger. Before anything else happened, something shifted outside. A quick, sharp movement across the front window, like someone entering the yard. One of the men noticed and stepped toward the window. His posture changed. He leaned slightly, observing the shape outside. The second man walked to the back door and checked through the crack in the broken frame. His shoulders tense. He did not like surprises. Whoever was out there had ruined their timing. The man near the window swore under his breath and reached for me. He grabbed my arm and tried to drag me out of sight. I fought without thinking, throwing my weight sideways. My body collided with the table, sending coins clattering across the floor. He slipped on the blood smeared beneath me and fell backward. The second man rushed forward to pull him up. I used that moment to crawl toward the front door. The tape burned my wrist, but I kept dragging myself, inch by inch. My chest hit the door frame just as the door opened. A neighbor stood there with a flashlight, eyes wide, stunned at the sight. He froze, and that second of shock saved me. The men panicked. They bolted toward the back of the house. Their footsteps slammed down the hallway. The neighbor moved toward me finally and pulled me outside, calling for help with a shaky voice. By the time the police arrived, the men were gone. They had disappeared into the dark fields behind the houses. The police questioned me until morning. They showed me charts, photos, even old reports about marked coins. Some groups use birds to scout houses, trained owls. Simple marks, easy targets, people who lived alone, people who wouldn't be missed immediately. The coins left by the owls were signals. Those birds were not just pets. I stayed in a hospital for days. They patched up my face and ribs, but nothing felt normal anymore. When I was discharged, I didn't go back to that house. I didn't even collect my things. I couldn't imagine stepping inside that house again. No one was arrested. The police said groups like that move fast and didn't stay local. The neighbor checked on me once, then kept his distance. Maybe scared the men would come back. I sleep in a different place now, with fewer windows. I don't keep lights on. I check every corner before going to bed. And every night, I listen carefully. I guess I'm now terrified of owls.